Not too long ago, I was a schmucky kid living in Southeast Asia. I wanted to dedicate this video to some of the mistakes that I made during my time in Southeast Asia, especially during the initial stages of my time where I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. So I'm going to point out a couple of the brutal mistakes that I made that changed me a lot and allowed me to become the person who I am today. Let's start out with one of the biggest mistakes that I have made and that so many digital nomads, retirees, whoever moves to Southeast Asia make today. People are making these mistakes again, especially this very specific mistake. And the mistake that I'm talking about is falling too far too quickly. I'll never forget, I think it was in the movie Wall Street from 1989. Gordon Gekko, right? Gordon Gekko said, "Don't fall too far." Or he said, "Don't fall too quickly." So right, don't fall for a person you don't know. It's so important, and you know how it is. You arrived in Asia, everything is new to you. It is not easy to make friends because first of all, you don't know anyone. Perhaps you've made some online relationships, some online friendships, but you don't really know the people you've been talking to. We've been talking about this a lot on the channel, and we know how long it takes to really know a person. It takes at least a good year. If you don't have invested enough time, you definitely don't know how this person reacts when poo-poo hits the fan, how this person reacts when you're out of money, how this person reacts when you have a bad day, when she has a bad day. So many unknown variables. I didn't know that back then. I got into relationships way too quickly and I fell way too far for the wrong people because I was scared of being alone. I was scared of being alone. I just didn't like being alone because the environment was so different. It was so new and so strange that I thought, hey, I gotta find myself a woman right away because I don't want to be alone in this environment. I want to have somebody close to me, somebody I can talk to, somebody I can rely on, and somebody I can trust. That was my thinking process back then. I was scared to fail, I was scared of being alone, and I was scared of messing up. I was scared of all these things. And whenever you're scared, you make very poor decisions. Very poor decisions. I got into a relationship with a girl who I had met online, and the reason why I got into a relationship with that girl was because, again, I was alone and I didn't want to be alone, But what I should have done, and that would have been the right thing to do, was to meet more women, just to date more women. Take a bit of time because I had a friend in Malaysia. So I was not completely alone like some other people who moved to Asia. I should have just taken more time, sit back and say to myself, hey, look, you've now met, whatever, 3 to 5 girls, you went out on a couple of dates. Perhaps you went to the amusement park. Perhaps I went to the amusement park, spent some time here and there, maybe went to a cafe, went to the rainforest, went to the beach. Here is the data that I have. Maybe I'm not ready to make a decision yet. I do need more time. I do need a few more dates. I do want to spend more time with, let's say, 2 out of the 5 women I dated. That is what I should have done instead of just picking the first one that came my way, because that's what I did. I picked the lowest hanging fruit, and the lowest hanging fruit should only be chosen for short-term dating because you don't care about commonalities, you don't care about the dating checklist, the one that we discuss on this channel. We don't care about that. Short-term dating is about pleasure. It's not about the big picture. The big picture does not matter. But back then I was into long-term dating and my criteria was based on pretty much nothing. I had no criteria. The only criteria I had back then was to not be alone, to not feel lonely. That was my criteria. This is what I had done really, really wrong. Not just once, actually twice. I made the same mistake twice. So I'm a slow learner, as you can see. On the positive side, I was very young, and right now it ain't happening to me anymore. But back then I was in my early 20s, and before I came to Asia, I did not have a long-term relationship. I dated, but it was short-term. It was maybe like for a month or 2 months. So I was never in a long-term relationship. Everything was new to me. I had to learn so much. So that's the mistake that I made. And what I advise people to do not date women online, especially if you're in the country. Online dating is really only good for people who are outside the country. Most people who I know got scammed through online dating, not offline dating. Let's say you walk into an internet cafe or perhaps Starbucks. Maybe you were at a park where you exercise or a gym. You meet women there, and a lot of women who you meet on offline, they actually are not online because they're so occupied with their lives. They got a job, they got a daily routine, they got a family to take care of. They don't even have time to think about online dating platforms. Their life is too busy to even worry about that. These women are better women than those who are easily available online. Online, it's a different ballgame. Women talk to a lot of guys just like you are talking to a lot of girls. You can never be sure if you're the only one. 99 point whatever plus percent, you're not the only one. Even if she tells you you're the only one, you are not. You may never be. Women who are online, who are dating online, they develop the habit of being around a lot of men. They like that feeling. They like being confused. They like having too much choice. Pretty large pool online. A lot of people to choose from. Not saying the people are of quality, but there's a lot of quantity. It's easy. It's not necessarily a good thing. Think about it this way. Offline is much better. You personally interact with the person. You can actually say, hey, do you like this? Do you like that? She can't lie about her looks. She can't lie about her height. She can't lie about her physical appearance at all. It's right in front of you. Of course, she can lie about her past. She can lie about whatever she does tonight. You don't know that until you're together. So I'm not saying that offline is 100% bulletproof. It isn't. I know so many people who have been scammed online. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how many people got scammed online. So avoid bad relationships at all costs. The moment you enter a bad relationship, it changes how you perceive the location where you're at. Because one bad experience can be the difference between living happily in a place and having to leave the place because everything went south. Think about it this way. Another thing that I did wrong is I lost apartment deposits. And the reason why I lost apartment deposits is because I moved too much to different places. I had a 1-year contract. In some places it was very, very difficult to get a short-term contract, like 6 months. 6 months was difficult to get. And back then, Airbnb, I'm not sure when the platform launched. I just know it was not popular. I personally did not use Airbnb in 2011, 2012. I started using Airbnb way later, in like 2015 or 2016. That was a bit of a problem, so I lost a lot of deposits because I had to break the rental contract, and you know what happens when you break the rental contract, you lose your deposit. People rarely, if ever, have compassion. Doesn't matter what the reasons are. They see you gotta leave, you put down the deposit, the contract is in place. And don't get me wrong, even if you don't break the contract and you move out just on time or later, you may not get your deposit back. It's a different region. There's little laws in place to protect the foreigner. Think about it this way. So that was another thing that I did really wrong for a couple of years actually. I moved too much, made very poor decisions. Another thing that I did wrong was that I did not consider the whole environment. Like when I moved to the Philippines, I felt like, hey, this is amazing. The beaches, I can swim in these beautiful waters. I mean, it was so inspiring. And the Philippines is a phenomenal place for outdoor sports lovers, for watermen. There's no better place than the Philippines for watermen. Snorkeling, diving, surfing. However, if you believe that you can move to a place, wherever it is, Palawan, if you want to move to Cebu and you want to live in a very rural area, don't be mistaken. You're gonna run into a lot of issues related to internet connection, related to electricity, related to safety. It is not so obvious when you first get started. It just isn't. You don't know these things until you try, because people who are online, they portray these locations as bulletproof, as perfect, shiny, no issues attached, just perfection. Only the positives, not the negatives. Just think about that. So I moved to a place in the Philippines, and I love the Philippines. I love the beaches. I would take trips to Malabascua, Moalboal. Oh my God, amazing, amazing places. But I moved into a place in Mactan, And I'll never forget, we had Globe back then, and the internet was shaky at best. Back then, my income was predicated on consultation calls, which of course were reliant on the internet connection. And I'll never forget, I had a consultation call with a client from Tampa, Florida. It was just incredible. Within like 5 minutes, the call dropped so many times, and it got embarrassing because I felt like, hey, maybe we're just too far away from each other. After time, people realized this guy is in a really bad location. This guy got a really bad internet connection. And that's when I started to lose clients. I could not get those clients back. Those clients were gone. My money was gone. My income went south. I did not have those problems when living in Kuching, Malaysia. Had a good internet connection there, a reliable internet connection, no brownouts, nothing. It changed me because how I had envisioned the Philippines was different than what I experienced when I got there. Because yes, I wanted the tropical beach lifestyle. I wanted to live on the island of Cebu, which I achieved. But I had the imagination, the illusion that there wasn't going to be any problems. And I had to bite a couple bullets back then because I had to move on. I'm like, wow, look, I'm so dependent on the internet for my income. And I had an apartment contract, and again, I had to break it in order to move to a new place, and then I decided to go back to Kuching, Malaysia. That's how that went. But I tried it, it didn't work for me. I missed the Philippines. It's difficult to go back to a place like that because you lost income, you lost clients, you had a very emotional experience. You know how it is. You build these clients, it takes time and money to get clients, and you lose them in a day. It took months, sometimes even longer than a year to build trust. It takes years to build a reputation and only a second to destroy it. I wasn't aware of this principle back then, so I had to leave. And that was just another big problem that I ran into multiple times, on multiple occasions, not just once, not just twice. I ran into this specific problem on multiple occasions, and it changed how I look at things. What were some of the not so positive things that you experienced in Southeast Asia? Let us know. Comment below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, and investment advice several times a week right now. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos.